Hi, I'm Sarah Haverstick, Manager of Safety Advocacy for Evenflo, and I'm very excited to be here today to share a product update. We launched three new car seats in 2023, and you can see those three on the screen. Today in the webinar, I'm going to cover just some highlights about each of them, but I'm going to focus most of our time on some new things that are happening with our brand. So these products include two spin-offs of our existing Revolve 360 lineup, which are the Revolve 360 Extend and the Revolve 360 Slim. In both of these, we were responding to feedback that we had heard from our original Revolve 360, and that was that a lot of consumers and advocates wanted to see this as a extended rear-facing option. So you can see both of these products go from 4 to 50 pounds and 17 to 48 inches in rear-facing mode. Additionally, we heard that consumers needed options that were narrower in vehicle. So we have the Revolve 360 Slim, which comes in at 16.7 inches wide, shaves off about 3 inches from the original version of the product. Otherwise, the use, function, and installation of these two seats remains very similar to that of the original Revolve 360. Additionally, we launched a new infant car seat last year, the Shift Dual Ride Infant Car Seat and Stroller Combo. This seat starts at 3 pounds and 15.7 inches and can be used both as an infant carrier and a stroller. As I said, I'm not going to cover a ton on these products. I'm going to hit some of the highlights, but I do have two full CEUs on each of these products with lots of additional information. These are currently recorded at carseateducation.org. So you can always watch these to earn another CEU or just watch them to learn a little bit more about any of our products. So just as some highlights to cover with each of these, I'm going to start with the Revolve series. As I said, these two new Revolves, the Extend and the Slim, are very similar to our original Revolve. They all have a rotation handle on the top of the side wings. There is one on each of the side wings on each product. You only need to engage or squeeze one side to start the rotation, and you only need to squeeze that handle in order to start the rotation. As soon as that car seat starts rotating, you can let go of that handle and it will still rotate until you hit a locked position. The locked positions are rear facing or forward facing. It is also important to note, if you have never seen one of these car seats and it shows up at your car seat check event next week and you are messing around and playing with that with that rotation and all of a sudden the car seat won't rotate all the way around, do not panic. This car seat is designed only to rotate all the way 360 and into that forward facing position when in the fully reclined position. So if ever you're having a hard time and you can't get that car seat to rotate into forward facing, all you have to do is grab the recline handle behind the car seat, squeeze and recline the seat all the way back. Once it is fully reclined, you will be able to rotate all the way around into forward-facing mode. Installation, as I mentioned, is very similar between the Extend and the Slim and the original. We wanted to keep these things consistent because we had a lot of really positive feedback on the use and the installation. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, both of these products have rear-facing and forward-facing lower anchor weight limits. For that reason, the seatbelt is our preferred method of installation. That way you can get a one and done installation and you don't need to worry about the lower anchor weight limit for the product. We also provide you with a Lockstrong belt tensioner. That's what you can see in the center of this base. This is a belt tensioning device. This is not a lock-off. There is an indicator, so when you close the belt tensioner, you will see that indicator change from red to green so that you know you have fully closed. Because it is a belt tensioner and not a lock-off, you will still need to have a locked vehicle seatbelt. In most situations, that means you will be locking the vehicle retractor. You would do that after you close the belt tensioner. There's another indicator on screen that I want to talk about for a second too. That's the seat lock indicator that you can see in the center of this image. There is one on either side of this base. Right now it is red because, as you can see, all you are looking at is the base. The seat shell is not actually attached to the base. That's another one of the unique things about Revolve. You remove the seat shell so that you can have this very easy base installation. This seat lock will be red until the seat shell is in a locked position. As I said earlier, the locked positions are rear facing or forward facing. So when you place that seat shell back on the base, that indicator will stay red until you rotate around to either one of those positions. This indicator must show green anytime that car seat is used in the vehicle. Whether or not the child is in the car seat still needs to be locked, either rear facing or forward facing. Another unique aspect to the Revolve line is that you will always use the tether in both rear-facing and forward-facing modes of use. The tether is always used. I hope from an advocacy perspective that this does help to encourage the use of the tether, that this forces that consumer to engage with this feature from the moment they take the car seat out of the box. This also provides you that one and done installation. So if you start with that seatbelt and tether, you could have a smaller child rear facing in the morning and then an older child forward facing in the afternoon. And all you have to do is adjust the headrest so the harness fits appropriately. You would not have to change your installation method. So seatbelt and tether is our preferred method of installation at all times. Another unique piece to the Revolve line is that in terms of aircraft approval, you can use these products on an aircraft. They are heavy. They weigh about 30 pounds each. Even the Slim, which is a little bit smaller and narrower, still weighs about 30 pounds. So they're not lightweight seats to be bringing onto an aircraft. Additionally, that aircraft seating environment is different than a motor vehicle seating environment. And that latch plate on the aircraft is going to end up in the center of the base and will interfere with our Lockstrong belt tensioning device. So only on an aircraft, we want you to bypass the belt tensioner. So you will just place that aircraft belt over the top of the belt tensioner, still within the blue belt guides, just not using that belt tensioning device. Switching to the dual ride, which again is our infant car seat and stroller combo. In terms of the base, I think installation is pretty straightforward. It's an infant car seat base. We have premium push-on lower anchor connectors. We've got a 5-position adjustable recline foot. We also have the Lockstrong belt tensioner. So whether you're installing with the seatbelt or with lower anchors, this is going to help get you that snug installation without a lot of effort. One of the unique things is that this car seat also comes with wheel wells that can be attached to the base. These are optional, so you don't have to use them. They do not come attached, so you would attach them if you want to have them on your base. And they're designed to collect the dirt and the muck from the vehicle or from the stroller wheels and keeping them off of the vehicle seat. So you can see that in that small picture on the bottom right. This product being unique in that it has the stroller frame attached, we wanted to give you an option to keep that back seat clean. If it does get dirty, again, these are optional. You can remove them and they are top rack dishwasher safe. Another unique piece to dual ride is that you have a couple options for use. So when the whole product is attached to the base, you can remove the car seat with the stroller frame attached and then use it as a stroller. Or you can remove the car seat from the base without the wheels, as you see in the picture. And then you have just a typical lightweight infant carrier. When it's just the carrier, it weighs about 8 pounds. So this just gives families options for what might work for them in any given scenario. So that's it for kind of the recap of what we've had going on for the last year. For the next little bit, I want to share some new news. First, we have a brand new fabric. This is our Green and Gentle fabric. This is a recycled fabric. It is environmentally friendly and soft to the touch. The fabric is manufactured using recycled plastic bottles. You turn that plastic from the bottle into pellets, which then gets turned into fiber, and then that fiber turns into the fabric on that car seat. Additionally, the fabric itself is inherently flame resistant, which means we do not have to add any additional chemicals, and we can still meet the FMVSS 302 requirement. We launched first this fabric last year with the Revolve 360 Extend, and on Extend, that fabric cover is manufactured using 26 recycled plastic bottles. And this spring, we have launched the Revolve 360 Slim. It is, remember, slim, a little bit narrower, so it doesn't use quite as much fabric. This is manufactured using 22 recycled plastic bottles. So we're working through a larger sustainability initiative as a brand. You're going to hear a little bit more about that as we go. And this is one of those steps that we're taking. We're excited about this new fabric. We also have a full line of accessories for dual ride that we have launched recently. So remember, dual ride being an infant car seat and stroller combo, the accessories are really primarily geared towards that stroller use. So knowing that typically when you use a stroller, you get some extra storage locations on that stroller. So we've created a few new stroller storage options. The first is this crossbody bag. It has a weight limit of 2 pounds. When you open the top of the bag, you can see there's little Velcro tabs. Those can Velcro around the infant car seat, the stroller handle in this case, and you can use that for some extra storage. Again, only for stroller mode. So this would have to be removed when you move back into the vehicle. This is our essentials bag. This one is a little bit larger. It has a weight limit of 7 pounds. And as you can see from the picture on the right, there's a little handle that loops around the European belt route guide. So you have that option there for some additional storage. The thing that I think is really cute about this bag, it comes additionally with a changing pad, and that little slit in the front is actually a wipes dispenser. So you can place your baby wipes in there and have easy access to those baby wipes from the front of the bag. Again, only for stroller mode. So when you get into the car, you would remove this bag from that Euro belt guide. We also have an all-weather cover, so this can help in rain, in wind, with bugs, etc. It's got a nice mesh area, and it can give you full coverage with a peekaboo window. Comes with a storage bag. This would need to be removed for use in the vehicle. You can then put it in that handy little storage bag. And finally, we have a padded travel bag. So if you need to travel with this product, it fits only this product. So this was designed specifically for dual ride. On the right-hand side, you can see you can wear this as a backpack. But additionally, there are little slots in the front that you can open, which expose the dual ride wheels. So you can also wheel it using those dual ride wheels as well. The rest of what I want to share today are things that are going to be happening soon. I can't give you an actual date when any of these things will be happening. However, I can say that they'll happen sometime between, now and the next 6 to 18 months. There are a lot of things happening in the world of child passenger safety today. There are many changes, many of which are related to the updated regulations that are going to change things that you know about products that you've worked with for a really long time. So I think it's important for technicians that you have this information now. So when you start to see these things changing in the field, it's not scary or confusing and doesn't give you pause because you've heard about it already. Additionally, because we have some extra time, since this is a longer webinar format than I typically get to do at like a state conference, I wanted to get into a little bit of the why behind these updates. So we're going to talk through each of them individually and talk a little bit about why they're happening. But not all of the changes are regulatory. So the first change that I want to talk about is with our Nurture Max. This is an opening price point infant car seat. And one of the things that we've heard from both consumers and advocates is that sometimes it can be a little bit challenging to connect the infant carrier to the base. So, when I go to events, I don't just go to share all of the things that we have going on as a brand. I really want to hear from you. And this is one of those opportunities where we heard this loud and clear from advocates, and we were able to take this back to the team so that they could start investigating. We all know exactly how to line up this infant carrier so that it fits underneath the beak, as we call it, on the base. And then the infant carrier just drops right into the base. And it's a really easy connection because we're used to that product. So we challenged the engineering team and they came up with something that we're calling the horseshoe. And that's that piece of additional plastic on the infant carrier. So it guides the user to exactly where to place the infant carrier so that they line up with that beak and can easily drop the infant car seat into the base. We were fortunate to be able to bring this pre-production sample to the National Lifesavers Conference back in April. And we had a number of technicians try that out at our exhibit booth and had lots of really great feedback. So this is a change that you will soon see coming to the Nurture Max. And I hope that it will make your experience with this seat a little bit easier. But certainly, again, we welcome that feedback as you're working with our products out in the field. We also have a couple of running changes happening with our Revolve 360 line. The first is on the Revolve 360 Slim. And again, feedback that we heard from the field. The harness is a little bit twisty. So we started looking into it and we saw that our buckle tongue is a little bit wider on what is currently out on the market. So we're changing to a buckle tongue that has a narrower opening for that harness webbing. I have personally been using this version with my 5-year-old in his Revolve 360 Slim for a little while now. And there's no twisting of the harness because again, that narrower opening makes it much more difficult for that webbing to twist inside that opening. So you'll start to see that change roll out on this product as well. And with all of our Revolve 360 models, we are going to start shipping that buckle in the outermost position. We have 3 buckle positions for all 3 of these models. What we have found with feedback from consumers via our customer service team is that very often when consumers think that they're making this buckle change, they're adjusting the buckle in the soft goods, but they're not making that corresponding adjustment in the hard goods or that plastic shell. So knowing that most consumers transition to these larger convertible or all-in-one car seats when children are a little bit older, we thought we would go ahead and move that buckle all the way out. In this case, we think it will eliminate the need for most consumers to ever have to interact with that buckle in changing it to an outer position. If that consumer is using this product with a smaller or younger child, they can certainly still bring that buckle in to be closer. But we think this will just make that whole process a little bit easier for the majority of consumers. The next updates I'm going to talk about are a little bit more holistic, and this is where we start to get into some of the regulatory changes that are coming down the line. So I'm going to talk about these more broadly across categories. I'm going to start with our infant car seats. Soon you will see a maximum starting weight, or a maximum weight, sorry, not a starting weight, the maximum weight for her infant car seats at 30 pounds. For most of our infant car seats, this means we are going down from 35 pounds where we are today down to 30 pounds. The exception there is the Nurture Max, Max, which we talked about earlier, that currently has a starting or a maximum weight of 22 pounds. It will be going up to 30 pounds. So we're actually giving the Nurture Max a little bit more longevity for use. Because we are changing and touching all of these infant car seat labels, the next update makes me really, really happy. We are going to update all of our Light Max line so that they will include updated product minimums, 3 pounds and 15.7 inches. So you'll find that update on the labels and in the instructions. Many people on the line know that way back in 2018, we announced that we would approve Light Max to be used at these lower weights, lower weight and height, but it wasn't changed in product labels and instructions because this is really a huge undertaking to go across all of our SKUs and make this big holistic change. But we have to do it now for regulatory reasons. So what are those reasons? First, we have the new FMVSS 213A, which is the new side impact regulation. This rule is effective as of June 30th of next year, 2025. So we still have a bit of time before this goes into place, but this requires a whole new dynamic crash test with a new setup and some new dummies and just all kinds of new information. So as you've seen and heard across other brands, all of our car seat manufacturers, we're all working on this now and working through our existing product and any new product we have in the pipeline. This side impact standard applies to car seats that are rated up to 40 pounds or 43.3 inches. It includes testing with 2 different dummies, the Krabby and the Q3S. The Krabby represents a 12-month-old, and that is a dummy that we currently use for frontal testing. In the side impact test, it will be an uninstrumented dummy. The Q3S represents a 3-year-old. This is a brand new dummy. It is designed for side impact testing. So it will be instrumented and has special instrumentation so for this side impact test. One of the things that NHTSA has included is that, in all of the updated regulations, is that we want to still emphasize and help consumers understand the benefit and the values of keeping kids rear facing longer. So they have said the Krabby can be used essentially up to 30 pounds. So if we max our infant car seats at 30 pounds, we will test side impact with only the Krabby. If we choose to go over 30 pounds, then we will need to test with the Q3S, which again is a 3-year-old. And just think for a minute realistically about the size of children that you see in infant carriers and whether any of the 3-year-olds that you might know in your life would actually fit in an infant carrier. So if we look at the growth curve for a minute to understand where kids line up, at 30 pounds, which again is what we're going to now max our infant car seats at, 30 pounds at 12 months old, this child is well off the growth curve. And this is a male child. So this child is well above that 95th percentile off the curve. If we project forward to 18 months, this child is still a very large child at the 91st percentile 18-month-old at, again, that 30-pound weight. And you know as well as I do, it's not only the weight, especially with that infant car seat. It's a lot about the height. So most of our infant car seats max at 32 inches. So that's that top line on this growth curve. Again, if I look at that 12-month-old at 32 inches, they are closer to the curve, but still just a little bit above that 95th percentile. But if I project forward to 18 months old, now we're about middle of the pack. This is a 42nd percentile 18-month-old child. So all this to say, I think when we looked at this and when we looked at this opportunity with the updated regulation, the updated dummy table here for 213A, simplifying not only that test matrix for the infant car seat, but really right sizing those weight and height requirements for the infant car seat so that the consumer can better understand how long they're going to be able to use this product and realistically what size child is going to be able to fit in this car seat. For sure, I think most kids will continue to outgrow the length of the infant car seat before they hit that 30-pound weight limit, but I think it brings it a little bit more realistically in line with the size of the child that may be able to use this car seat. Next updates, we want to move to our multi-mode seats. So I'm going to start with the rear-facing seats. And this, I mean a convertible or an all-in-one used in rear-facing mode. Most of our convertibles and all-in-ones have a 40-pound and 40-inch rear-facing weight and height limit today. The change that we will be making, again, taking this opportunity to really look at our products and understand the size of the child that could be using it and trying to align our car seats appropriately with the size of the kids that we want to be using them. We are going to increase the height limit to 43 inches. So now our products will be 40 pounds and 43 inches. This does not affect the Revolve Slim or Extend, which we already talked about as extended rear-facing options. So those remain the same. And the other exception that I have noted here is in terms of 40-pound seat, the Tribute, which is a smaller shell, is not going to go to 43 inches. And I'm going to walk through that one in just a minute since it is a little bit of an exception. On the forward-facing harness side, so this is every one of our forward-facing harness seats, convertibles, all-in-ones, and combination seats in that forward-facing harness mode will soon have a minimum weight limit of 30 pounds and a minimum height limit of 35 inches. So why are we doing all of these things? Well, there's another part of the regulation. There's actually two pieces that are new to the regulation here. One of them is the 213B new frontal impact standard. So that's updating our existing frontal crash test to be more reflective of the modern vehicle environment. And this final rule is effective December 5th of 2026. So just over 2 years from now. The other piece is what NHTSA is calling amendments to the existing 213 regulation. So these amendments have to do with some weight limits information that we're going to talk about in just a second. Also covers off on some labeling information, registration cards. There's a few different pieces that are amending the existing 213, and those go into effect December 5th of this year, 2024. So just, over 6 months from now or so. So the first part that is related to those amendments is that NHTSA is going to restrict the minimum weight of a forward-facing harness seat to, at a minimum, 26.5 pounds. And they're doing this in an effort to encourage children to stay rear-facing longer. So they're increasing the amount of the minimum weight around which they can actually use that car seat in a forward-facing mode of use. They also are going to, with the new 213B frontal, align those dummy weight and height ranges with what they listed in 213A. So that Crabby and the 3-year-old, limiting that Crabby so that it really is representative of that 12-month-old and not used in the forward-facing position. Currently today, we test that Crabby dummy in forward-facing harnessed car seats because that's what's required in the dummy table, the matrix that we have to follow for testing protocols. NHTSA has said now the Krabby will not be used for forward facing. So really aligning the idea that a child at 12 months old should still be rear facing and encouraging the use of these rear facing seats a little bit longer. I mentioned dummy table, so this is what that looks like, and this is the updated table with the final rule. So on the right-hand column, you can see the different dummies, and I've only mentioned a few, but there's more of them listed that we test with there. On the left-hand column, it covers the weight and the height ranges that can be associated with that dummy. And if you spend a little time, look at this later, you'll see where some of the numbers that we use come from. So it's not just numbers that get pulled out of the air. These are generally the numbers that you see associated with car seats are numbers that are related to this dummy table. Now, I said our forward-facing car seats for Evenflo, we are going to start them at 30 pounds. The requirement in the standard is 26.5 pounds. So we decided, that was just a very specific number that families might not, know off the top of their head. And rounding just up to the next whole number at 27 pounds was, again, just kind of a really specific number. So we felt like rounding to 30 pounds not only might be an easier number for families to remember, but aligned again with keeping kids rear facing a bit longer. And already for many years, Evenflo car seats have required a child to be at least 2 years old to be forward facing. So we felt like that 30 pounds aligned better with our 2-year-old statement as well. So because this gets a little bit more convoluted, I wanted to talk through this about how does this impact some of our existing products so that you know what to expect when you're working with these products in the field. And I started with one of our workhorse institutional car seats. This is the SureRide Titan 65 convertible car seat. You can see in the table, current rear facing is 5 to 40 pounds and 19 to 40 inches. The only difference with the update will be that we go from 19 to 43 inches. Again, giving a little bit more room for growth in the height in that rear-facing mode. In forward-facing mode, currently we are at 22 to 65 pounds and 28 to 54 inches. This is where bigger changes happen, especially for this product. The weight will now be, or will soon be, 30 to 65 pounds. The height will soon be 35 to 49 inches. You can see that's a change in both the minimum and the maximum. And that, again, is designed to align with that updated dummy table that NHTSA has provided. 2-year age limit still remains the same for forward facing. That is not changing. Then we have the Revolve Slim. So I wanted to show this as an example of rear facing. There are no changes here. So we remain 4 to 50 pounds, 17 to 48 inches. Forward facing is where you will see some changes related to that regulatory update. So right now we're 22 to 65. That's changing to 30 to 65. And on the height, we're at 28 to 49, and that will now change to 35 to 49 inches. Again, still includes that 2-year age statement. And then the tributes. I said I would talk about this one separately because it is kind of a unique and separate case. This is a smaller opening price point convertible car seat, but it really does have kind of a shorter shell. So when we looked at all of these updates that we were going to make, and we really tried to make them in a way where it could be consistent across all of our products, we looked at the tribute and said, realistically, we really want to make sure we are giving the consumer the right information and giving the consumer information that is realistic to the size of the child that could be in this car seat. So that's where you'll see right now, weight limit doesn't change in the rear facing mode, but we're changing that height. Currently, we're at 19 to 37 inches. We're going to go to 19 to 40 inches. So realistically, we feel like that is a height that can be appropriate for this seat. So giving a little bit more room for growth in the height rear facing, but not going all the way to 43 inches like we are on the other seats, just because this car seat is a bit smaller. Forward facing, Both the weight and the height will change, so both to reflect these new minimums with the new NHTSA guidance. So going 30 to 40 pounds in forward facing mode and 35 to 40 inches. These next ones I'm very excited about. So on the booster seat side, we will be increasing the minimum age of our boosters to 5 years old. We know that it is very important for a child to be developmentally mature enough to use that booster seat. They need to be able to remain seated, to be seated the right way, not to mess around with that seatbelt, so that they can always be properly positioned in that booster seat. And that developmental maturity takes time. And we think that aligning this age a little bit closer to around that time where the child is potentially transitioning to kindergarten is a good time to do that. Additionally, we've decided to increase our dedicated booster seats to a maximum height of 60 inches. Dedicated boosters meaning a booster seat that is only ever a booster seat that has never had a harness, so only ever used as that booster. So why are we doing this? Well, the amendments to 213, the things that are due by the 12/5 of this year, now require all booster seats to have a minimum weight of 40 pounds. We didn't have to make any changes there. All of our products and booster modes have been at 40 pounds for a number of years, and this aligns with the Transport Canada CMVSS regulation as well. So we didn't have to make that as a change. Additionally, booster seats are not tested under 213A. Remember that 213A side impact testing only applies to car seats up to 40 pounds. And now NHTSA is restricting boosters to a minimum of 40 pounds. So there's no booster seat testing in this 213A. So really, we didn't have to make any changes on the booster seat side. But in both of these situations, both for developmental maturity and for the size and the use of boosters, we felt like this was the right time to, again, right size what we were doing. And this was the opportunity to make some of these changes. So looking at another growth curve to see, where our booster kids line up at 40 pounds and moving up to 5 years old, that 40-pound 5-year-old is pretty middle of the pack, a 46th percentile male. On the top end, so making that adjustment to go right now, most of our boosters being at 57 inches, which is 4 feet 9 inches tall. Generally understood to be around the time that a child may fit that adult seatbelt properly. But really, there's nothing magical about 4 feet 9. So what might work well for some kids is not a guarantee that every child, when they hit that 57-inch mark, is going to fit that adult seatbelt. Additionally, knowing that many state laws max at 8 years old, that, some will go all the way up to through the age of 8 to the age of 9, but there aren't many state laws that go above that. So if I look at that 57-inch 9-year-old, we are just above that 95th percentile. This is a 96th percentile male. This is a very tall child at 9 years old. We know most kids need to be in that booster seat until they are 10 to 12 years old. This is an area that I think we all need to do a little bit more work and encouragement, and how can we get this message out to families? But we also know, as I said, at 57 inches, this is going to work well for some kids, but some kids, are really long in the legs and short in the torso. And even at 57 inches, that shorter torso means that they might not fit that lap shoulder belt appropriately, and they may still need a little bit of boost from a booster. So that's why we've decided to take those dedicated boosters up to that 60-inch mark to give a little bit more time for those kids that might still need it at even the top end of that height. So again, for specific products in this lineup, Looking at the Maestro Sport, which is a combination seat, and has additionally that booster mode. You can see the changes we've already talked about forward facing, going to that minimum 30 pounds and 35 inches. On the booster seat side here for Maestro Sport, you can see we're not really making any change except to that age, going from 4 to 5 years old. The Chase is a seat that maxes at 40 pounds in the harness. And then again, as a combination seat, goes to booster mode. This one is a little bit unique and a little bit different because it does have that 40-pound max. So for this one, we're going 30 to 40 pounds still in the harness, and then 35 to 43.3 inches in harness mode. In booster mode, no change to the weight, and then you'll see 43.3 to 57 inches. So that very specific 43.3 aligns with that dummy table. That's where you see that. And we just needed to make sure that those lined up so there wouldn't be a gap in when that child could potentially go from one mode to the other mode. Additionally, on the age, you can see that at least 5 years old as the update in booster mode. And then for our dedicated booster, which right now in our Evenflo lineup is the Evenflo Go Time. On the weight side, no changes. And on the height, you can see we are changing from to 44 to 60 inches, and that child age being at least 5 years old. Way early on in this webinar, I mentioned that we were working through some sustainability projects across the company. And to align with that, we've decided to extend expiration. So for all products moving forward, we will have a 10-year expiration from the date of manufacture. Right now, we have some products that are at 6, a lot of products actually that are at 6 years, a handful that are at 8, and a handful that are at 10 years. And really across the board, we felt like, number one, this would be easier for consumers to understand, just 10 years for any Evenflo car seat across that board. Additionally, if aligning with sustainability, if we can keep these products out of the landfill, allow that family to continue using this car seat that they bought and they paid for, to continue using that for the same child or for another child down the road, we felt like that was the right thing to do. Additionally, even those car seats that are fully plastic shells, these are really robust pieces of juvenile products. And we feel strongly that at 10 years, they're all still fine to continue to use in that way. So you will start, as we see all these other changes rolling out, this is another change that you'll notice that the expiration date will be different. And because we are making all of these changes, you will also start to see some new SKU numbers roll out for Evenflo car seats. And I think that this in particular is an important one because I know for programs that use Evenflo car seats for distribution, you can probably quote me the SKU number or the model number on the specific model that you use for distribution in your community. And when all of a sudden that number changes, I don't want you to panic. And additionally, we're now moving to an alphanumeric system for most of our car seats. So I don't want you to be surprised when all of a sudden there's some extra letters that are thrown in there too. So most Evenflo car seats will start with the letter CS for car seat, and then we'll follow with a series of numbers. These numbers will still be different than what the numbers are that you know today. And we need to do this so that we can, better understand our inventory and what is current right now, which will soon be old, versus what is new with all of these new updates and specifically some regulatory changes. For friends in Canada watching this, our Canadian SKUs will still end in the letter C. So that is still the way that you will designate and understand what is Canadian versus what is a US model. And the only seats that might look different would be infant car seats that come as part of a travel system. We typically designate those a little bit differently so that we know that it was sold as part of a travel system and not sold as a standalone unit. And we need to do this because we need to be clear to consumers what they're purchasing. And when they, we have one product right now that says it's 22 to 65 pounds, and that same product in just the very near future is all of a sudden going to say 30 to 65 pounds. That's restricting some of that use for the consumer. And we have to be really clear. And by clear, I mean this affects kind of the back end of everything that we do on the web. So our own direct to consumer information on our website. And then additionally, the information that we project out to our retailers. We need to be clear with consumers when they are buying that product what the weight and the height ranges are so they understand what they're getting. And changing these SKU numbers is going to help us on the back end be able to align the appropriate information with the appropriate product so that the consumer knows what they're going to get. So just to wrap up, because we talked a good bit about some of this regulatory stuff, I thought you might want just one little overview of what is coming. Because like I said, there are a lot of things happening in the world of child passenger safety, and you're going to see a lot of changes over the next several years. So first, the amendments to 213. So our existing 213 regulation and amending a bit of information. This includes the new updated minimums for forward facing and for booster mode use. This includes some labeling changes, and this also includes some registration card changes. For us, you'll start to see a QR code on the registration card. We've never been allowed to do that before, but aligning with ways to make it easier for the consumer to register that product. All of those things have to be implemented by December 5th of 2024. So this year, like 6-ish months from now. Next, we have 213A, which is the new side impact regulation. We have a bit more time to do that because there is a lot of work that needs to be involved, and this is a brand new test. So this is due by June 30th of next year, 2025. And then we have what's being called 213B, which is the new frontal regulation. Right now, we run a frontal crash test. This is updating that frontal test to be more in line with the modern vehicle, as well as some other, testing specific updates. This, again, we have a little bit more time. So due 12/5 of 2026. So just over 2 years from now. The really important thing for you to understand about all of this, not super important to remember specifically which parts of what part of the regulation is being changed at what time, but it's important to know that any car seat that is sold today is still a safe car seat. Even if it doesn't yet meet any of these upcoming changes, it meets the current Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard 213, which is still a very stringent test and regulation to meet. So any product sold before any of these things roll out, still completely safe to use. This really applies to us as manufacturers. These dates are important for us because we cannot manufacture a product after these dates unless that product is compliant with whichever of these updates is happening. We can comply early. So you'll hear brands start to talk about, a car seat that might be 213A compliant, meaning it's met the side impact regulation. We can do those things early. But after each of these dates on screen, we can no longer manufacture a product that does not meet the regulation. So we have to be aligned by these dates. Anything sold before then is still okay to use. And I want to make sure, especially you all as the technicians out there working with families, as families start to hear more about these changes potentially down the road, you want to make sure they understand that their current product is still safe to use. So this is my contact information. I'm glad we could spend a little bit of time together. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to help answer questions. We do have a tech discount program available. If you are interested in that, just send me an email with a copy of your certification card and I can send you those details. Additionally, to reach our institutional sales team, you can see Patsy and Eve's contact information on screen, as well as our Parent Link customer service team. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great day.